All right, we are live. Hey. So what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava podcast. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show. I am very excited today. I am super excited today. I have a very special guest. It's one of our Polynesian sisters all the way from San Diego, California. So I'm super excited today to hear her story and definitely share with you guys on this podcast. But real quick, if you're watching this for the first time and you're tuning in, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support. Thank you for tuning in and watching this for the first time. Please, if I can ask you to show some love and support, please like and subscribe to my channel. And everybody out there that's been showing me so much love and support, been watching my videos and reaching out to me. Thank you so much for all the love support. That really means a lot to me. It actually keeps me going, inspires me to keep going and do what I do. And then, like I said, if you're watching this and if you feel something in your heart, you want to share your thoughts and ideas, please, I encourage you to drop some comments below. I would definitely love to hear your feedback and definitely like to share your thoughts and, just share your thoughts and help everybody out. But of course, I'm excited for this podcast. I'm ready to get back to this podcast. I'm very excited. I'm very grateful, by the way. Very grateful by our guests for taking their time to do this. But I'll let her introduce herself real quick. So it's all you. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Hey, everybody. It's Shonnah-Lei Patton. I am 25. I am from the village of Ili Ili in American Samoa. I'm currently residing in San Diego. That's me.
Let's go. All right, sounds good. And like I said, thank you so much again. One more last time. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm super excited for this podcast. I'm ready to listen, ready to rock and roll. So I guess the very first question I'll ask you to start it off is, how did you grow up?
I grew up in a very strict, but I would say fun household. I have 5 brothers and 2 older sisters, so that makes 8 of us. And, as Polynesians, we have big families, so we pretty much, that whole thing going on. My childhood was great, pretty much, and I had my little rebel phase. But all in all, I had my grandparents, we all lived in the same house and they took really good care of us, even my mom too, but more so my grandparents because, we were their grandkids and they loved us so much. Other than that, the regular was just school, home, church. We are LDS members. My grandparents were not. They were going to a Catholic church. So they were strong in that church before my grandma passed away. And then, my grandpa decided, okay, I want to be a member of the church. And, now he's a member of the church and all that. So, he is still very strong and all. He has a bit of dementia, but he is good. Other than that, like I said, my childhood was great. I grew up, in a well-loved home, although we did have issues, the regular, and it was just good growing up in a big family. So that's about that.
Okay. So was your family like how traditional and how strict were they? Were they're super strict, very traditional? There's levels to it.
Right. Okay. So we weren't like I mentioned, they weren't as strict. But being a girl in the household, of course they're more strict on the girls. Yeah. So growing up like that, I wouldn't like that. I did not like that. So I said, I had my little rebel phase. So I would just do what I wanted to do, get my ass beat, do it again, that stuff. My dad, he wasn't there. He was there till I think I was about 8 years old or so. And then he had to leave, he was playing rugby at the time. My dad is Tongan. He's full Tongan. Yeah. And that was his sport. So he, him and my mom, things didn't really work out like they were supposed to because my grandpa didn't like my dad at the time. Yeah. So my dad was like, all right, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go work and, still take care of my kids. I think that at the moment took a toll on my life. you know, and not only mine, my little brothers too, because they loved him. They were so close to him. But yeah, that took a toll, and I was just like, damn, I have no daddy right now. Like,
Yeah.
grow up with daddy issues or whatever. Like that. Just kidding. No, but yeah, that's that. I believe that was one time in my life where I was just like, okay, there are times where I do need him, and then he's not there. You know, my mom started dating, all that stuff. She got remarried and then divorced, whatever, and dated again. And I was like,
yeah,
you know, so that was that. And but yeah, you know, my grandparents, they were very loving. They were so loving, and they weren't as strict on the boys as I would say. Like, it was always me. I was the only girl. It's because my two older sisters, you know, they were already married at the time and they had their kids. But it was me. They're like, you know, you're supposed to be home. Why are you home late? You know, that type of stuff. And I'm like, dude, I was at school, you know, I would participate in sports and everything just to not be home. But then I would still get home super late, and they're like, we're going to beat your ass, you know? But yeah, they weren't that strict. You know, it wasn't strict at all, I would say. I would say it was just more of concerning, you know, because I am a girl. So I understood that.
Okay. No, that's funny. I mean, that's, you know, that's always like the common story or experience I always hear from a lot of Polynesian women, you know, because we, you know, if you grew up, you know, if you're watching this and you grew up in the Polynesian culture, we all understand there are gender roles, you know.
Oh yeah,
you know.
I know. I hated it so much because I'm like, damn. There were days I'm like, I wish I was a boy, you know. But after that, I'm like, no, don't do my ass.
But it's funny, like just thinking about my own life. Like when I look back, I mean, when you're younger, you're not aware of it because it's normal. It's just the norm. But I remember like growing up, like all my sisters were like living inside the house. And then we had the boys would stay in a little back house in the back of the house, but our parents didn't care what we did. You know, they just let us loose.
I know. I hated that so bad. I was like, man, I want to beat up my brothers because they're always out doing things. I'm over here cleaning the house.
So, but I do understand that they can be very difficult to. Well, I guess that can be very difficult. So you grew up in American Samoa, right?
Yes.
Okay. When did you move here to the States?
It was on and off pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say around 2014 is when I moved to Hawaii. And then, well, actually, yeah, 2015. I moved to Hawaii. I stayed there. I helped my brother with his first son. And then I stayed there ever since, you know, and my dad, he lives in Hawaii too. So I was able to see him, you know, all that stuff. And then I had recently moved to San Diego in December 1st of 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, you know, now I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. No, yeah. So I guess that's, I mean, just kind of like if I just reflect on it and just based on my experiences of talking to other Polynesian women, you know, I guess if you grew up in the islands, it may be not be a big deal, but I feel like if you grow up overseas in other countries and you try to, you know, for a lot of girls to stay home, that can be difficult because, you know, they go to school and you see a different culture, right? So the culture on outside of the house, you go to school, all your friends are going outside, you know, just hanging out,
right?
And then you go home and you go home and you go home and they tell you to stay home, but then you go outside and they tell you it's like it's cool to go outside, you know, it's cool to have fun. So I can see how challenging that is, especially for girls. And a lot of times, based on my own conversation with a lot of Polynesian women, you know, they just felt like, you know, it was like the gender roles within the Polynesian community can be very limiting as far as like, you know, their personal happiness and growth of what they really want to do for their life. So I'm interested to kind of ask you, like, what your experience of, I know you mentioned it, but like, what was going through your mind when you started to feel like, because you obviously you reacted, you had a little rebel face.
Yeah.
So, you know, it looks like you definitely wanted to go out there. But for you, just on your own, I'm interested to, to hear your thoughts. If you're looking back when you were really, really younger, like what was it like? Did you feel like that that gender role was a burden, or was it like it was limiting you what you wanted to do? And I'm just interested to hear like your personal opinion about the gender role of like kind of like telling girls at a very young age that you can't go outside, you have to stay home, and they have to watch the boys run around.
I mean, honestly, in regards to that topic, I feel like the gender role is important. Um, in regards to our safety.
Yeah,
And I totally understand that. But still, like, there's another part where you're just like, but I am my own person,
yeah,
so just let me go out and do what I want to do. And let me suffer the consequences later. And I would
yeah,
always do that. Like, I would do
yeah,
something I'm not supposed to do, and I get back home, get my ass beat, and I'm like, all right, today's a new day, go back and do it again.
yeah,
Yeah, but I believe the gender roles. At the time when I was younger, I didn't understand. And I would always, tell myself, and I would always complain, like, this isn't fair,
yeah,
because my brothers get to go and do whatever the heck they want, and I'm over here at home. I have to be home in this stinking house,
yeah,
so there are times where I would be out, and sometimes I wanted to be out longer. And it was just me, like, I was young, and I was young and dumb, I would say, and I wanted to do whatever I wanted and didn't want to listen to my parents. So at the time, I was just wanting to be a free spirit, and that's pretty much me. I'm such a free spirit, and when when I can't do what I want to do, I trip, like, so the gender roles are important now. I see
yeah,
it. And I have a daughter of my own, so I do limit her to, different things, because it's more of a concern, because, they're little girls,
yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah,
we're in a totally different place other than home. And, even home too, there's things, bad things happen there, but this is America. Like, it's so many crazy people, and, just having little girls, you just have to protect them. So,
yeah,
I do everything in my power to do that for her, because I was that girl. Like, okay, I want to do this and that and
yeah,
this and that. Be freaking little cheeky little girl and
yeah,
go
yeah,
do whatever. And I would never admit that. Everybody, my grandma would say, don't be kind of geeky, stuff like that. I'm not gonna say it ain't right, but yeah, like, they would always say, no, you're not supposed to do that, you're not supposed to go here, or you're not going to go here, or you are going to go to this place, but you have
yeah,
to be home at a certain time. And I hated that. So having a daughter of my own, I'm just like, okay, I have to do better. And
yeah,
she's very structured little girl now, so she understands. She says, I always tell her, you're a Samoan girl. We have different, values in our culture. And, I try to explain this to her, because she has been there, for a year, besides when she was a baby. And she doesn't speak the language. She doesn't understand the culture very much, but, she's getting there.
yeah. So I guess I know you said something. You have to make sure you want to do better for your daughter. I want to ask you your opinion. What do you feel like would be a better way, in your opinion? Because the gender roles. I understand. Like you said, I understand why they have it. And
Yeah.
why they do it, because the whole purpose is to protect. It's to protect the kids, right?
Right.
But I feel like that sometimes it's too overprotecting, it's too
Oh, of
strict,
course. Of
and
course.
and for me, just understanding how our minds work as a kid. If you tell us not to do something very strict, we're gonna do it.
Right. Exactly. Like, that's
Yeah,
totally,
it's nothing's
what
gonna stop us from sneaking out, right? But I know I understand why they're doing it, and we don't want to put our kids, or we don't want to put our kids out there, and especially with all the crazy things in the outside world. So
Yeah.
I'm interested now. I mean, it's because you lived through it. You went through your own. You experienced it, and now you've matured and you've gained a little bit more knowledge. Well, so how would what do you think is a better way to do it? And now you have a daughter. What would you do? What would you do different? Because I feel like for me, I did. My parents didn't really care what I did.
I mean, you're a guy, so.
All right. But I feel like a lot of times because based on my personal observation, I feel like a lot of times because we're too strict and we enforce all these things on our kids, a lot of times that can cause pressure to some kids, right? Right. And also what I see a lot is because of the strictness and how hardcore or very tough love, because all Polynesian parents around tough love. Like, you got your ass beat a couple of times, so you got that tough love. You got that tough that Polynesian love.
Of course.
All right. But what I see that kind of lacks within our community and what in our relationship with our parents, that is like there's a lack of communication where we as kids can feel comfortable coming to our parents if we made a mistake or if we're struggling with something. But instead of communicating with them, we tend to rebel. That's our way of finding that communication, because we're not hearing, our voice is not getting heard. Nobody is listening to what we want, our needs. We're gonna just go out there and figure it out on our own.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times, that sometimes puts us in positions at risk. And I made some bad decisions myself. Being, going drinking, smoking, and it's doing young things and crazy stuff, just because I just felt like that I wasn't heard at home. I didn't get that, there was no concern to how I felt. All right. And for me, like now, when I do have kids one day, and I'll still have boundaries. Like you said, I'll still have boundaries for them, just like our parents did for us, because I do believe in that, to make sure we protect them. But at the same time, I'm gonna be more open with them, because I want them to, hey, like if they do what it did, I won't be as strict. But I feel like for me, what I'll do is like I'll let them experience things. I do believe in the value of experiencing life. So they're used to certain things in life. They can you gotta let kids experience it, because I feel like when you try to force them away from life, they're gonna clearly do the opposite.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And also I want them to talk to me. Like I don't want them to hide things. Like, if they're gonna go out, I'd rather them come to me and tell me, hey, I'm gonna go out, so I know.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I let them know, hey, right, you're going out. Okay, be safe. Hey, if something happens, call my number. I want to make sure they're going out there to the world with a backup plan, with a plan. Right. So they're prepared to go out there instead of just going out there to the real world.
Right.
No. And nobody knows they're gone from home. So you're just going out there like just no help, no support, and they're just left for the world, to at the mercy of the world. And hopefully the world, they don't go through anything bad, and they don't have that the bad happen to them. So I don't want to leave up things to chance. I want them to let them know, hey, if you want to go out, just tell me. Want to go out, got a party, but if I feel like the party is not, I'll give my opinion, but I want them to know, hey, to come to tell me, and I don't want things to be unknown, just like the way I grew up, and my parents had no idea what I was doing. I would just, all right, so yeah, so that's, I guess I know that was a loaded question, that was a big, but yeah, I'm actually interested in your experience. You've lived that life, you experienced it as a daughter, now you have your own daughter. What would you what do you think is a better way, and what would you do different now with your daughter, knowing that how you lived?
So the better way for me is through communication, because her dad and we talk to her every time, especially being a little girl. So we do talk to her, and we always tell her, if there's something wrong, you can talk to us. If you have a problem, you can talk to us, just anything, because we, when we got her back, she was like, there was no structure there. Like, because back home, she got anything she wanted. She didn't have a curfew. She got anything she wanted. Everybody just spoiled her, And so when she came back, she had to get used to the structure of having a curfew. You're not going to have as much candy as you used to. We got to take you to the dentist, all this stuff. And just, growing up, going through what I had to go through, it's, I'm more careful of her. And, like I said, me and my husband, we talk to her about these things every time, and she's 7, she just turned 7, and she's more aware of a lot of things. And she would ask, okay. And the other day she was at my niece's house, and, she had brought up sex, and I guess, my husband let her, he was like, yeah, you can go ahead on your computer. You can just watch, YouTube like you wanted to. And that was his first time just letting her do that. And, YouTube isn't censored at all. They just have all types of crap on there. So she's, her innocent mind, she's like, yeah, let me just click on this because it's one of her favorite shows, but it's like in Russian and it's like nasty stuff, So she's clicking on it and she's watching it, and then she clicks on something else, and she's just going through this. So I guess she mentioned it to my niece, and my niece was like, what the heck, So my niece was telling me about it, and I was like, okay, it's fine. I was like, okay, I definitely got to talk to her about this. As young as she is, she's exposed to so many things, regardless of us keeping her in or, even allowing her to be out. And, at some point, kids are going to be exposed. And I feel like that's one thing the Polynesian community, or I would say our elders mostly, I would say that's one thing that they try to avoid is the conversation. And I believe wholeheartedly, that they just don't want to talk about that at all. And that's why I said, that's something I would do better, because I grew up with that. And, my daughter, she's a very bubbly little girl. She has a very happy personality, and she loves, to just do anything fun. So, and, my husband looked at that as, she's this beautiful little girl. We're going to send her out into the world. And there's just all these weirdos out there, that are gonna prey on that. So, like I said, we talked to her about a lot of these things, and our communication has been so much better, because sometimes she'll come and talk to me, about certain things, and I'm just like, yeah, this is what this is, and you shouldn't be doing this, that type of stuff. So yeah, I would say communication is the best form for me in a way. So.
Yeah, I want to ask you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How did that conversation go when you I know you said she saw the video about sex, and like, how did that conversation go with her when you tried to explain to her what that was, and how did you feel like, how did that go?
Well, yeah. Okay, so right before, like, my husband had brought it up because I totally forgot about it. She was sleeping over at my niece's house. So when she came back, my husband was like, so can we have this talk? And she was like so confused, and I'm like, oh yeah. So Leanne, go ahead and sit down. And she got so scared. Because she thought she was like in big trouble. And I'm like, no, you're not in trouble. We just want to talk to you about this because we don't think that it's the right thing. At the time, we just didn't think that it was a subject that she should bring up, but as a kid, of course, they're curious and they're going to go through all these motions. And so we just sat her down and we asked her about it, and she started crying. I was just like, why did you feel the need to click on that and continue watching? Because she didn't know what was going on. But she was so confused, and she was like, what are you talking about? And so my husband was like, okay, let me go get your computer. So he goes and he gets her computer, and he shows her like, okay, do you think you're supposed to be watching this? And she's like, I don't know, and I told her, I specifically told her, like, you're not in trouble. Even her dad told her, you're not in trouble. We're just trying to make you aware, because these are things that people put on here that you're not supposed to watch, but you watched it anyway. And that's fine, because you didn't know. Just know that you're not supposed to watch it again next time, And she started crying, and I was like, dude, like, chill out. It's not that serious. You're not gonna get, smacked or anything. Like, you're good. We just wanted to make you aware. And so when she was a bit more comfortable, and she was like, I just thought that was something that I just wanted to watch my show. And I clicked on that because she likes this Ladybug show on Netflix, and that's what it was. So, that was his first time letting her use her computer to go on YouTube. And so she was on that. So I was like, all right, well, for YouTube kids and parental controls. But that's how that conversation went. After that, my husband usually tries to make her super comfortable. So he's like, if you want me to leave the room and you can talk to mommy, go ahead. So she's like, okay, yeah, you can do that, So he left the room, and then she opened up a bit more. And, I told her it's okay to talk if daddy, is here too, because he wants to thoughts. And she said, okay. So the time after that, then we all had another conversation about it, and she was more open. So I feel like we're doing something right with this communication thing, because a lot of kids didn't get that, and I didn't get that much, even though my mom was like, you can talk to me about anything. And I was just like, no, I really can't talk to you about this stuff, because you're going to beat me up. But yeah, that's how that conversation went. So it was pretty good. The outcome was very good.
Oh, okay. No, man, that's not, thanks, number one, thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate sharing that story.
Yeah, no problem.
No, because I feel like you said, I feel like that's one of the most important topics about and that we need to kind of like bring awareness to in a Polynesian culture. Is like we don't talk about like certain topics, like you said, like sex. We don't talk about sex at all in the Polynesian culture, and I feel like because we don't talk about it and we don't educate our kids about it, we're not fully preparing them for it to kind of protect themselves from it. Because like you said, there's a lot of weirdos out there. There's a lot of there's a lot of weirdos out there, and some bad people out there. And based on my own conversations with Polynesian, and I've had a lot of conversations with Polynesian women too. Like they brought up their own experience of getting abused at a very young age. The number one thing they would always say, and something you mentioned, they didn't know. They were confused. They didn't know what was actually happening to them. Because it's something they weren't aware of, it, they weren't educated on at a very young age. And so when it happened to them, when they were getting abused by that person, and some of them was like close family members, like they just had no idea what to do, and they thought in their mind it was normal. And that's why I feel like talking about these topics is very important to protect the kids. And I remember one of them, I forgot her, it was Tasha. I remember Tasha talked about it in her podcast, and I asked her about it, and she said that when she has kids one day, because she has a kid now, and she said that the one thing that she's going to do different that she didn't receive growing up as a child is she's going to teach her daughter the difference between appropriate behavior of touching and inappropriate behavior of touching, and letting her know and letting her know what type of a behavior of touching is inappropriate, and it doesn't matter who it is from the family.
Right.
And so she wants to let her daughter know, look, you're not supposed to be touched by like this way. I don't care who it is in the family. If they touch it this way, you're not supposed to. That's a bad thing, right?
Right.
So that way,
that's another topic that we've talked to her about too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and that was one thing she brought up, and I feel like this is if anybody's watching this. If you're an elder, if you're a parent, you're about to be a future parent. I feel like that it's very important that we change that dynamic in our culture, and making and normalizing open communication with our kids and within our families, and because and I understand, and I'm not blaming the elders. And if you're an elder, I'm not blaming you.
They're like, we're gonna get this guy.
don't come for me. Don't come for me. I'm not blaming you, because that's how you were raised. Yeah. So a lot of our parents and our elders, that's how they were raised. So they're only raising us the way they were raised. So they don't know any better, right? So they didn't have open communications with their parents. So to them that's what a normal parent's supposed to do, is just tell them, because I know our Polynesian cultures, it's all about respect and all about obedience. Yeah. Like, they tell you something, they expect you to follow it. No
and that's so sickening in a way, especially with the whole touching thing. It's such a a crucial subject, especially for our females, our Polynesian women, because like you said, we're brought up a certain way. And it's like, okay, if they tell you to be quiet and not to tell anybody, then that's what you're supposed to do. And that scares me so much because, like I said, I have a daughter, and personally, I've went through that. I had to go through that, and it's so traumatizing. It is so very traumatizing, and so that's why I'm so careful with my daughter, because I'm just like, I'm very careful about who she's around and who she meets, because you never know, like you said, people are weirdos. And and it's very I would say it's such a touching subject, for a lot of our women, and a lot of them to this day, sometimes they would realize later on, like, okay, this is really what this person was doing to me, and and I didn't know, and it's not normalized to the point where we could go to somebody and talk, where we could go and vent to someone that we can actually trust, because at one point people will use that against you and turn, and twist your words. So I feel like this is another subject that could be so crucial to talk about, because it happens so very often, and it happens everywhere, with anybody, and even with males, and that happens often too. And and I feel like that's something that should be normalized too, is because not only females have it happen to them, but it also happens to our brothers, and they just don't talk about it, because it's like, it's going to make you less of a man if you talk about it, so I just wanted to add that.
No, thank you. I know you mentioned, I know you just mentioned right now, like your experience where, when your parents would tell you one thing and you're just supposed to follow it blindly. So I know you said you went through that. Do you mind expanding on that? And like,
sure. Okay. So that experience, for me, like I said, it was traumatizing, and it took me a long time to just open up, especially to my husband, because he never knew that side of me. And I packed that shit up, and I just like, I put it all the way back to where the sun don't shine, because don't nobody want, like, I did not, that's how bad, and traumatic that experience was. Not saying that my parents did it to me, because they didn't, but it did happen to me with men that were in my life. The things that have happened to me, it's like, okay, at the time I was young, like I said, we don't know what's going on fully, but we do know. I was never taught about, okay, this isn't appropriate touching or whatever. That was just never the case. But when it did happen to me, I thought it was like, what the heck. I was more cautious because I watch movies too. I watch CSI. I watch all this stuff. Like, I know what's going on. And so when I first was, molested, it was like, okay, you're not going to tell anybody. You're not going to tell anybody, and you're just going to be quiet about it. And I was so scared. I believe I was only around 11, 12 years old. And it was like, I was so scared to tell my mom, but I ended up telling her anyway, and not for anybody to look bad at her or whatever. But
what was her reaction? What was your reaction?
She just never took the initiative, to actually do something about it. And it was so very heartbreaking for me, because I'm like, you're this person.
You're
supposed to
mom.
care about me. You're supposed to
protect.
Protect me, and just be at my beck and call if I ever come to you with a problem. But that wasn't the case. But I told my grandma, and she was the one that took the initiative, because she doesn't like that. Like, she does not care who you are. It's like, you did this to my granddaughter, you gotta go, And yeah, she was pretty much, I would say, within everything that happened to me, she was always there to save me in a
Yeah.
way. And, you know, like I said, I mentioned this to my mom, and even like, you know, years later, and, you know, it happened to me again. And I was much older, you know, I was much older. I was in high school. I was a sophomore, and it happened again. And it was like, dude, why does this keep happening to me?
What was
You
that?
know,
Was that happening from people outside the family or within your family?
well, these are people that, not relatives, but they were just men, you know, that my mom had dated, and, you know, that.
Oh, got you. Got you.
So yeah, so that's that, you know. And as uncomfortable as the subject is, you know, I'm just like, I feel like a lot of girls do need to hear it, you know. And yeah, this happened, you know, that stuff happened to me. I've just been molested and talked to in such a dirty way. And I'm just like, this is not okay. You know, this
Yeah.
isn't okay. And here I go again. I'm telling her, and still nothing, you know. So it's like, I mentioned it to her like later on, probably like months later. And she's like, when did you tell me that? You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, you're really like, at the moment, I was like, wow, you're a really piece of shit to me. Like at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, at that point, I lost so much respect for her, because, you know, that really stripped me of, the first time really stripped me of my childhood. Like, it was just
Yeah.
like, wow, this is, I don't know what the hell is going on,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
really happened to me, you know, because I know so many, I have so many girls that I know that have gone through it a lot,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And it ended up being me, you know. And I was just like, this is mind blowing, you know.
Yeah.
So like I said, it took me a long time. It took me such a long time. And it's still very traumatic. It's still very triggering, especially with my daughter. Um, but I did tell my husband, you know, he
Yeah.
knows everything now. And he actually had to keep bugging me. He's like, hey, I'm here, you know, we can talk about it. It's okay. There's no judgment here. And yeah, I told him about it. And, you know, he's like, are these people still living? Like, what is going on? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, one is dead and the other one is living still. And he's like, do you want me to? I was like, no, it's really not that serious anymore to me. But, you know, because it did happen, I took that as a lesson to just see and watch who my daughter is around, you know,
Yeah.
watch who she meets, watch who, you know, whoever, just anyone, because it could be a family member and it could just definitely be anybody, you know. And I'm just happy that she's surrounded by people that actually love and care for her. And even my husband, she looks up to my husband so much. And he's giving her that male perspective of what type of man you should have, what type of man, you know, that you would want to have in your life, you know. So I appreciate that a lot. But that was my experience.
Okay. I just want to say, thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. I very, very, man. I just want to give you a big hug right now.
Shoot.
No, but no, really, thank you for sharing that. I know it's difficult for you, and I know you said you packed that shit all the way in the back. But very, I mean, thank you for your number one. Thank you for your courage to speak up on a very hot topic and important topic that happens a lot. Like you said, it happens a lot within our community, but we don't talk about it, and because how your mom reacted is pretty much like the common reaction for most, like based on the stories I hear from other women, is when they do
Yeah.
tell it to their family members, their first reaction is like they don't believe them.
Right.
Oh my, that person would never do that.
Right. Oh my gosh, like kill me already then.
and it would just, and this is what, and if you're a parent out there, if you're listening, I want you to like just have like for me, what baffles me is the common sense of most people. Like, do you think a child would just come up to you and lie? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, if it's like adults, I'm not saying that's what I'm just saying. Adults, okay. I know there's a lot of shit going on with adults,
Yes.
misleading and lying in court and about that type of stuff. I get that. All right. But when it comes to like children don't make up this shit.
Yes.
They don't make
They are
up sexual
so
abuse. They're
innocent.
so
Yes.
innocent. Exactly. They don't make up sexual
They
abuse.
are very innocent, and
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, it baffles me so much.
When they come to you and they say that this person is touching me in a weird way,
Yeah.
like that, you should know 100% that that's 100% true.
Right. And then on top of that, sometimes they don't know how to explain it, and sometimes that person's just like, if you tell, you're going to get your ass beat, that type of stuff. And they don't know how to explain it in a way. So sometimes they show it through their actions. They go into depression.
They lash out. Yeah.
And, or they commit suicide, or they write like letters, to themselves just to try and get it out. And that's why I always say, communication needs to be spot on, especially with your children, because that is so very important. Like, communication is such a great tool for you to have between you and your kids. And that will help tremendously, going later on down the line in the future, they're able to actually come to you and feel comfortable to talk to you about those things.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned that your grandma did something about it. So I'm just interested to hear what did they do? What was done to those when you told your grandma and she did something about it? Like what was done to the perpetrator? Like what happened to him?
Well, pretty much, they got evicted. But, my grandma would always tell me, that it's very important to just stay away from people like that. And that she would always push the importance of being a female. She would always push the importance of what we wear around these type of people, or, just the way we talk, just, the way we walk. It's just everything. And my grandma, she would talk and talk and talk, and she would let me know. And nothing too harsh that she did, but her just listening to me and her taking the initiative to be like, you can't be here anymore. You gotta go.
Yeah.
And, just doing that, it made me feel comfortable, because at least I knew I could go to her, and I love my mom to this day. I love her, but we have our days, and we are not on speaking terms right now.
Yeah.
But, I feel like sometimes you just gotta let things go. I just gotta move on, and I'm not gonna address the subject anymore. I'm just gonna let it go and just move on.
Yeah. I just wanted to offer my the reason why I asked that, because what I do notice when it comes to this, when it comes to molestation, sexual abuse within, children in the Polynesian community, the consequence to the person that the perpetrator, it's not really harsh.
Right.
And for me, like, I'm saying, if that happened to, if that happened to, somebody, my sister or a niece, if a daughter one day happened to me, like I'm looking for like blood, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. And so, that's funny, because like my dad still doesn't know to this day. And me like telling the world right now. Hope he doesn't see this. No, but I haven't told my dad. I never told my brothers, they don't know anything. And just having, gone through it, it was just, like I said, it was just very traumatizing, but growing up, knowing that I had somebody on my side, it's like, I'm happy that at least somebody gives a fuck about me, so I was like, okay, well, that happened. And that's why I just said, I packed that shit away. Like, I don't care no more. It's triggering, but not as bad as before. And especially since I talked about it to my husband too, he makes me feel very comfortable. He makes me feel like, okay, you don't have to hide, these type of things, especially like things that are very traumatizing. So
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like we have to like every like for these things to happen, like there has to be some kind of accountability in the community. If we don't do anything, if we don't hold these people accountable, then they just feel like, oh, I can just get away from it, and then I can just
Of course.
keep
And I
doing it.
blame myself for so long. I blame
Yeah,
myself for so long.
bro. No,
Like,
no, no. Well, you can't blame yourself. You're young. It's not your fault.
well, exactly, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I did.
But the adults,
And
I'm talking about the adults. The people that
yeah,
once you give that information to somebody that has a power to do something,
of course, yeah.
then it's I feel like it's up to the elders and the to have the responsibility to do something and make sure like we keep not just like for me it's like evicting somebody it's not enough
Right,
because he can just leave and continue on with someone else.
right,
Uh,
exactly.
so we need to like we have to come like as a community as families like we have to come together and go hard on these people, especially
Of course,
when
yeah.
but also I'm like just I know like how Polynesians are like the like reputation of the family is like is everything. Like they
Yeah,
don't want their business to put up
yeah,
be out there and then everybody talking about their family name and talk
yeah, I
about
agree.
but but for me like I mean I guess that's an old traditional way of thinking. For me like who gives a shit about the family name if the most
Yeah,
important thing is the children.
I
That's
agree.
what's
Like it's your blood right there that this is happening to, and it's just too much. And I would say that's why it's important to know the people that are around your kids. It's very important because kids see things. Kids see things happen to even kids that can't speak for themselves, but their actions do. So it's very important.
okay. I wanted to ask you is that I know you talked about you had a rebellious phase. Was that one of the reasons why you kind of went through a rebellious phase was
Oh,
because of
yep.
that?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was like, F everybody, nobody cares about me. So I'm going to go and be the cheeky little girl that I want to be and, just
Yeah.
hang out, go drink and do whatever. Like, I was literally doing everything because that was my outcry. That was
Yeah.
my response to you did not care about me, at the time. And you're actually doing this. You're actually, you know, still acting like it's a normal day, so yeah, my rebel phase was crazy. Like
Yeah.
like things I'm telling you, I got my ass beat, I ran away, I snuck out, I partied, I did all of it, and just looking back at it, I was like, wow, you were a bad girl.
Yeah.
like you were really bad and you just did the most,
Yeah.
and just
But
having
I was
huh
gonna say no, but you weren't a bad girl. You were a good girl, but you were doing bad things because of the bad things that happened
yeah,
to you.
and that's what I'm saying. Like I
Yeah.
blamed
Yeah.
myself for so long, and I'm 25 now, and
Yeah.
after talking to my husband about it, he's like, it's not your fault,
Yeah.
I told him like I blame myself for so long for things like this that happened because my mom was always saying like, you're just cheeky and you just wanted to do these things and that's why you're not supposed to wear these clothes in front of them. And I'm just like, but it's not me though,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's this person that decided to be lustful over a freaking little girl, and then
Yeah.
they just decided, oh, this is my time to do this because nobody was home or whatever, that type of stuff. And yeah, like I said, I blame myself for so long. And after talking about it to my husband, he was just like, it's really not your fault, it's you are just traumatized from everything that happened, and I don't want you to feel like it's your fault because it was never your fault. And for any girl that has happened to, it is not your fault, girl. It's that person's fault because
Yeah.
they wanted to be dirty and nasty and whatever. So
Yeah.
go to hell.
No, for real. And and I know you mentioned like the perpetrators were like people that your mom used to date. You feel like that was like the why you guys always disagreed because like that was her like that was her people she was in a relationship with and she couldn't and she didn't want to believe that
Yeah,
they would do that to
I would say that was for the most part. It was that because it just happened, it just
Yeah.
happened often. And at some point I'm just like, are you ever going to believe me?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and like I said, I was going through my whole
Yeah.
rebel
Yeah.
stage too. So she was like, oh, you're doing this and, you're telling me this stuff. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's what's happening to me. Are you going to do something or not? But yeah, like, to this day, we still have our problems. And like I mentioned earlier, we're not in the talking stage right now because
Yeah.
there are just some family issues, not in regards to that, but it's just other
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
issues that
Yeah.
keep coming up. And I'm just like, girl, I'm not doing this with you today, because sometimes I'm just like, this is not the time, so. But yeah, I feel like I would say a lot of our problems, or a lot of the times that we don't speak on, it's geared towards that. So
Yeah, I want to touch on something that you definitely brought up, because I feel like a lot of parents need to be aware, and like, especially when it comes to their kids, is like, whenever, like you said, like a lot of times, kids, they have the some kids, they have the courage to speak about it and voice it to somebody, but a lot of them don't know how to express that. They don't know how to explain
exactly.
what happened to them, and a lot of times they don't even because they don't have the courage to say anything. They'll just express in a different way, and like you said, like go outside and have fun and rebel. And I want a lot of parents to understand that, so like you can kind of observe that. Like you know if you just start seeing your kids, it's just like do a 360. Everything was good, they were obedient, they followed everything, and all of a sudden they just went off the rails. And
Yeah.
I want, instead of like judging and disciplining and criticizing the kids and being tough on them, I understand that kids don't just do that. Like all of a sudden,
Right.
if they're leaving the home and they're doing things, it means there's something going on with them in their life. And that's why why you said like communication is important, because as human beings, we don't just do things for no reason.
Of course.
Yeah. There's always a reason behind every decision that we make. And the same thing with children, but children just lack the awareness. So they're just going with their instincts. We're just
Right.
going with what we know. Okay, if we're not getting support from here, it is what I'm going to go find support over there.
Right.
That's
I'm
just
gonna
how.
find it somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just our natural instinct as children, to deal with the stuff that we go through.
Yeah.
So like I just wanted to just share that with everybody, to understand, like because I feel like, because I have a lot of friends like that too. I have a lot of friends that are going through their own struggles at home with their own parents, and they don't feel that support, and they don't feel that love and the affection from the understanding and acceptance from their own parents. So they constantly go outside to find it in other ways and forms. And I always hear these parents, just like, I see, it sucks when I hear their parents, talk negatively about their own kid. My kid's a
Right.
failure. My kid's a,
And that is so common. That
you
is
know,
so
you know,
common.
my little daughter is a little, goes around, little
Yeah. You're
I'm,
being a
I'm
little
like,
old, but
yeah, right. I'm like, and this is coming from their own parents. I'm like,
yeah.
yo, and my mom was like, yo, you don't even know your own kids. You don't know what they're going through.
Right.
Like
Like
I'm like,
they
I'm
don't
just,
just act out, and it's
yeah,
important to talk.
yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up for everybody out there to know, like, look, if you have a sibling, or if you have, if you're a parent right now, you have kids or and you notice them, they're not living a good life, then ask them, like, reach out to them. And
Yeah.
I guarantee you, like, it may be a little bit hard to open up to it, for them to open up, but regardless of what we're doing, because I've gone through that phase myself, but there's always a part of us that's like, just wants our family to reach out to us, like this.
Right.
Even though I'm out here doing my thing and living life.
They're like, hey, I'm still alive.
Yeah, but there's always a part of me, like, because our family, because we as Polynesians, like, our family is everything, and that's just how we are, and how we in our culture. So as crazy as my family is, my life, I still love them.
Yeah, exactly.
But it always feels good as a child when the very people that you grew up and raised you, it's a lot different when they reach out to you and they show you support. Yeah. I know we can find support from friends, but when we see our parents reach out, people that we grew up with, it really does
make a difference.
make a difference, make a big difference. So please reach out, everybody out there, and then if you're going through your rebel phase, be safe.
Take it from me.
Even if you're going through a rebel phase right now, please, number one, just be safe. But also, please, if your parents are not willing to start it, sometimes we have to be the bigger person in life. Sometimes as I learned that too, when I had to be the one to initiate the open communication with my parents, because I understood my parents didn't grow up that way. Yeah, so I realized for me, if I was gonna wait for them to initiate it, this never happened.
Yeah, break the cycle. Break the cycle.
So I was like, I have to do it. I have to start it, and so yeah, if you're not getting, if there's no understanding, communication between you and your parents, I encourage you to be the one to initiate it. You don't wait for them, and just try to work it out, because I feel like it's not gonna be perfect. It's not pretty. I'm not saying it's gonna be just easy. All these things we're just talking about it. It's not gonna be easy. It sounds easy, but it's not in reality. Yeah. But it's better off than doing nothing about it, which is the main thing.
I agree.
All right. So I do want to talk about. I think you said something really, really important about your husband. You said you're very grateful that you have a husband. Around your daughter. They can teach your daughter, how a man's supposed to love, what love is, especially coming from a man, because that's really important, especially for women,
Yes.
I want to ask you, because, you grew up, from a lot of the men in your life, ended up being terrible people.
For the most part.
All right. All right. Did that have a big impact on your relationships with men, and trying to find a healthy relationship? Because I really believe that I've seen this a lot with both men and women. If we grow up at a household, and because what we know about love starts at home, right? The type of love that we go out there and seek from our partner is always a love that we grew up to see at home. So I wanted to ask you is, how was your experience with relationships of trying to find a healthy relationship? Because a lot of the love that you received from men early in your life was pretty toxic. So did that have an impact on you on trying to find a healthy relationship? Because I'm just interested to hear that, because I know there's a lot of girls watching this, and a lot of them go and talk to homes, and a lot of them have a lot of issues with their finding a healthy relationship with their partner. And that's why I'm glad we're having these discussions to educate, teach people, so we can prepare our young men and women what real love is, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So that way, when they can, because I don't want to see broken homes and broken families and single moms or single dads. I want to make sure that, as the next generation, every child has a great father and mom to grow up with. And but yeah, I am interested in that topic, because I feel like that's very important for a lot of the women that's watching this right now. I want to ask you that question.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to add, that it did have a big impact on, my choice of men, because like I mentioned, my dad was there. He was always involved, as I was young, but my grandpa never liked him, so it was just weird to me, because my grandpa, he's full Tongan, he's full Tongan. My dad is full Tongan.
Yeah. Well, it should be a click. They should click.
So I was like, dang, you guys are about to get it. And my grandpa's like, no, I don't want you with my daughter. That type of stuff. Like, my grandpa never liked him.
Did you ever give a reason? Did you ever give a reason why, or no?
Man, I don't know. My dad just said that my grandpa never liked him, because I guess he expected more, for my mom.
Gotcha.
But my mom decided she wanted to be with him, but he was like, well, if you want to be with him, he can't live in this house. And I was just like, okay, just leave me without a dad or whatever.
Yeah.
But my dad ended up not being there physically, but he was there. He always made sure that his presence was there. He would send gifts, he would call, he would talk, that type of stuff. Like, I was literally clingy as hell to my dad. Like, that's my dog for life. Okay. And I believe him just not being there, it really did impact my choice on men, because he just wasn't there. He wasn't there physically to be like, hey, these are the type of men that you're not supposed to be with, or, you know, I wasn't really taught to, you know, be up to a standard of, okay, you know, keep your standards high, make sure you know your value and your worth, and make sure these men don't allow you to date them, or don't allow you to be the type of people they are, you know. And yeah, it really, it really impacted me, because I was really with some pieces of shit. Wow, like I could really slap me right now. No,
I love it. I love it.
No, but I have I realized that early on, you know. And yeah, as I had gone through my choice of men, and, you know, things just didn't work out. You know, my daughter, you know, her dad, I wouldn't call him a dad, but, you know, the sperm donor, he didn't claim her at first. You know, he was already in Hawaii, but we had dated, you know, throughout, you know, our senior year and everything, when we were in high school. And so as I gave birth, you know, he was just like, that's not my daughter, you know, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so you're calling me a hoe, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when she came out, she looked just like them, his side of the family. And I was like, God damn, no, but no, but they're really, you know, after that, I was just like, you know, it has to be a better way, you know. But I love his family, you know, his sisters, and, you know, they're very loving and they're very supportive. And, you know, his dad as well. His dad really acknowledged my daughter, because he was just like, how are you not taking care of your own, you know? I haven't spoken to them in so long, but, you know, I would want to at least try to make an attempt to have her, you know, get to know them even better now that she's 7, you know, and, you know, she's more aware. Other than that, like I said, it really impacted my choice in men. Until I found my husband, you know, and I was like, wow, I'm doing something right now, you know. You know, just meeting my husband, you know, and just seeing everything that he does for me. And it's very similar to what my dad does, you know, and he's very open. My dad, honestly, he's very stubborn. He's like so stubborn, but he's so very protective, which I love, you know, and he's always been that way. And I feel like that's how I am too, because I could be very stubborn. And sometimes my husband's like, oh my goodness, you know, what am I supposed to do with you? And I'm like, shoot, I don't know, but you got to deal with it now. So so just that, you know, just meeting him, I feel like I've finally gotten somebody that I know that can actually take care of me like my dad does, you know. And, you know, and I could do the same for him, because for one, he loves the Polynesian culture. He loves that we're so family oriented and all that. And he's African American. And he just loves it all, you know. And I always tell him, like, there's always something nice about it, and then there's the ugly truth, you know. But other than that, it's impacted a lot of my decisions on men, and I feel like I've done better. So, you know, I give myself a little pat on the back, you know.
little pat. So, no, thank you for sharing that. And because I know, you know, I see that all the time. You know, I see that a lot of Polynesian, you know, women in our community, just close friends of mine and family members as well. You know, women that go through that, especially early in their life, and then they just have a hard time figuring out relationships.
Right.
I want to ask you is, you know, what were things when you in the younger days, what were things that were toxic in your relationship, but you didn't realize it was toxic then? So what were the things? So yeah, I'm interested, like, you know, what were things that, you know, that were very toxic in a relationship, but at that time you weren't, you know, you really not, you didn't know better, being a young girl. So I know a lot of women are watching this, and they, you know, they need some context and some advice and to give him the signs and the signs. Okay, this is what toxicity is from a man. If he does this, it's pretty toxic. So a lot of these women, they just they try to deny it. Because if you grow up in a toxic home, then toxicity is your normal. Toxic love is your normal love.
Yeah.
You don't know what. So if you happen to meet a guy that's a good guy, and you wouldn't recognize it.
Right. Like, are you sure? Is this happening right now?
Yeah. So can you talk about like your toxic relationships and things that were toxic, and those, like you said, it's all about your self-worth, valuing you and knowing about your worth as a woman. So yeah, can you talk about that for all the women out there watching this right now, so that way they know what the signs and what is a toxic relationship, especially with a man, so they can know this information.
Honestly, I would say, toxic traits come in so many forms.
Yeah.
And it could simply be this person being controlling. It could simply just be somebody reacting a certain way towards something that you're doing, and speaking on the controlling part, a lot of us don't get to see this side of a man or our significant other until we're actually married, or until we're actually like in a deep, serious relationship. And then that's when they start this, because they're like, okay, you're mine now, you're mine, and you're going to do what I tell you to do, and I think it's very important that our sisters get to see these signs, just red flags. At first, if a man starts yelling at you over the little things, that's a red flag, unless it's something that you feel is, it pertains to the both of you. But if it's something that he's yelling at you over the stupid little stuff, then that's a red flag for me, I would say. Because first of all, don't come yelling at me. And then secondly, it's just the way they act. It's, if they're showing you like, okay, you're the female in the house, you're supposed to do this, expecting you to do so many things, and if you don't do it, then you're gonna get punished, or you're just gonna get beat up or whatever. Like, I feel like a lot of our sisters don't get to see this encounter until they're actually in a serious relationship with this person, and sometimes I do know that domestic violence is very much alive, very much within the culture as well, because as me growing up, I've seen so many of our, Polynesian men, they beat up their wives, silently, and it's very important that we speak on it, because sometimes these women just deny it so much. Sometimes they're just like, no, I'm going to get in trouble if I talk about this, and I have to go back home to this man after I talk about this, So I'm just like, at that point, if once he hits you, you run, sis. Like, don't stay. The first time he does it, and he's not going to stop, once he gets comfortable thinking, okay, well, she's letting me do this, he's going to do it again, and it's so very important, because it's, sometimes for people looking outside, from the outside in, it's easier for them to judge. It's easier for them to say, well, she should have just left, but sometimes it's not that easy, because not only, some of them have kids, some of them have kids, and sometimes maybe these women don't want to break that family, that little family structure that they have, because it's okay, it has to be a 2-parent household. But you have to realize that it would be more toxic for your children, because they are the ones that get to grow up and see it. They are the ones that get to see what type of example that their father is, showing, okay, it's okay to hit women, and especially for the sons, they're going to see it and be like, hey, my dad is hitting my mom, so it's okay for me to hit my sister. It's okay for me to hit another girl, and that plays such a big role in the community because nobody talks about it. Nobody really talks about. I'm sorry, I just
That's
got a call.
good.
No, but yeah, nobody really talks about the violence that goes on. Nobody really talks about just a lot of things that happen. It's within the control that these men give us, within the type of tempers that they throw at us, and it's just like we don't know what to do with it, but go with it. And yeah, in regards to that, it's just very important to speak up about it and to know your worth. And if you can't get out of it, please speak to somebody about it. Please talk and get the help that you need, because it's very important. Because I've seen so many things happen back home, and a guy, he burned his wife alive because
What
of
the
that.
hell? Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh my God.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like this story was just crazy, and they have kids, and he beat her up, and his story was, she was cheating on me or something like that, and she smelled like sex when I got home. But everybody that knew her, they were just like, she was very loyal to this guy, all that stuff. And oops. And yeah, all of that happened, and she ended up dying from it. And her kids had to see her at her funeral, and it was just so sad, because now this is very traumatizing, because he's beating her in the front of their kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where a lot of our men get that from, because they see things happening as they grow, and they think it's okay. So yeah, that's just something. Those are traits, girls. Being controlling, throwing temper tantrums over the most unnecessary things. It could be over the smallest things. Just know your red flags, and act on it. And if you don't, and you realize it later on, run, sis, because he might do something to you that you're gonna regret later.
Yeah, and I feel like, and that's something I realized. Like I know we talked about before, and we having open discussions and communication as a child. I feel like because we don't have open communication with our children, and we don't have discussions about important topics like sex and relationships at an early child. I remember growing up, I never had I never had any conversation with my parents about sex and relationships.
Me either.
I figured that out. I learned on TV.
Yeah, I've never had a conversation about that until I was actually having sex, and she was like, "You're having sex. You're not supposed to be doing this. I'm so disappointed. You want to go out there and bipo muku, all this stuff." And I'm like, "Girl."
Yeah, exactly. So like, because we don't, because we don't talk about it, and we don't, have healthy discussion with our children about it, and we don't prepare and educate them about it, then we're just left at the mercy of the world. So we just go out there and we experience. And I feel like that's what disheartening, because, man, I see so many like good people. I see so many good women and good men. These are good-hearted people, and of course, there's some horrible men out there, women, of course. Like you said, a lot of pieces of shits out there.
Yeah, a lot of pieces of shits and weirdos.
And weirdos, right? But no, it just saddens me. Like, I just see a lot of good men and good women being in situations, being in toxic relationships, being in predicaments that could have been avoided if we discuss these things openly. We're just why I'm doing this podcast, and that's why I'm very grateful for you for coming on here and sharing your story. Because one thing, this is one thing I recognize about our Polynesian community. We don't do anything until something bad happens. That's usually until somebody dies, until somebody there's a funeral, until somebody's in the hospital, almost in critical condition, barely about to hanging on with their life. That's when we wake up and run around like, oh, wow, there was something wrong. Like, when the signs, the signs were showing.
It's been there, yeah.
It's been showing. They've been trying to voice out their opinion. They've been trying to speak up. But nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants, and of course, most people want to criticize and and blame and judge people. But we don't do anything about it until something bad happens, until the kids, have to see their own parents in the funeral, and if these kids end up turning bad, like there's a reason.
Right.
don't
exactly. Don't
like,
ignore it.
Yeah, like So and I feel like we have to start having these conversations at a lot earlier age, and I think that's something I want to talk about to you, because we have we started off this podcast with gender roles, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
We teach kids, we kind of not kids, for especially Polynesian girls, we shelter them. So, and I think that's one of the things I want to talk about. It's like because we shelter. I feel like a lot of times as Polynesians, our culture, we shelter kids too much, and I know the reasoning, like you said, it's to protect them. But I feel like because we shelter, because I know in their mind, okay, if we don't talk about sex, we don't talk about all these topics, and hopefully she won't know about it. If she don't know about it, she probably won't do it.
Exactly.
That's their way of thinking. All right, okay, that may have worked in the 50s and 40s when there was no internet, and there was no TV. All right, where everything was pretty controlled. Back in the day before modern technology, I think that would have worked. That system worked. All right, because you couldn't run out back in the day.
Yeah.
there was no internet. There was no cell phones, and so you just stayed home, and then you get married. Then by the time you leave, there's marriage, and But now it's different. Like the dynamics are different, right? Like there's technology, there's TV, so we see things, we get influenced by things, right? We go to school. There's we go to the mall. So now we're like meeting all types of people now. So that's why I feel like it's very important to have early discussions, prepare our kids for it. But I'm interested in, of course, talk about relationships, talk about men, talk about sex, talk about mental health, talk about the difference between appropriate behavior and inappropriate behavior. So I want to ask you is, do you feel like sometimes we show, based on your own personal experience, do you feel like the culture sometimes shelters kids too much and doesn't prepare them fully for life because we try to avoid all these topics and discussions? Do you feel like that? What do you think about that?
Yeah. And just growing up on a small island, I agree with the whole sheltering thing because, it's so obvious, because we're so sheltered, not only within, our families, but the culture alone, it's not as diverse as it should be, and just being, oh my gosh. I'm sorry. There goes the freaking fire alarm again.
It's all good.
So sorry.
You're fine.
Goddamn.
It's all good.
You know what? Put your shoes on. This is very annoying. Come on, son. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's all right. You're fine. You are fine. Hey.
Oh, say hi.
Hello. We got a special guest. On the show.
Put your shoes on. Why are you still on your iPad? This is the second time this has happened.
It makes the podcast interesting.
Oh my, and it's even louder outside.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You should cut this part out.
I think it makes it more interesting. It makes it more fun. And then we get a fire alarm. So
this is so annoying.
It's all good.
Where are you going? Let's go this way. My son is like, what the heck? Sorry, we're walking out right now.
No, you're good. You're good. Take your time. Take your time. You're better. You're better. You're a better person than me. You hear me? I said
I
you're.
can hear you.
No. I said that you're a better person than me. When fire alarms, I'm terrible. I just sleep through it.
Well, that's the thing. If I didn't have my kids, I would have just been laying in bed.
Yeah.
This is the second time this has happened.
This year.
Everybody is just like, sit down, son. Okay, so we're just like,
Mom, can I choose a rock?
yeah, go ahead. Sit down, son. Sit down. So I don't feel like going all the way down there. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You don't have to apologize. It is good. Fire
Here we go
alarm.
again. Can you stop? Why are you throwing rocks? Cut it out.
You're the first one out there?
I'm the first one up here. Everybody is down there. Like, okay, I think this is a bit more quiet, I would say. Sit down. Okay, I don't know if you want to continue with it.
No,
I don't
we're good.
feel like going all the way down there.
No, you're good. You're good. We can just continue wherever you want to continue.
Okay, cool. So we're just outside.
Yep.
I don't know if you want that in the background. I'm just
Nah,
waiting for
it's good. No, you're good. It's good. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Whenever you're ready. All right,
ready.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So, just to piggyback on the last question that we talked about.
Okay.
And everybody that's watching, hope you enjoyed the the real life experience.
Oh well, you see, it's done now.
So hope you guys just keep tuning in. But yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm going back up to my apartment right now.
Okay. All right. You finally stopped.
Yeah, finally. Because last time they flooded the whole lower area of the Hey, right here. Open this door. Hi, son. Did I woke you up?
Is it cold out there in San Diego?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I know. Right now in LA, it's pretty cold right now. It's pretty cold in LA.
Yeah, we like coming to LA for seafood.
Yeah. I haven't been to San Diego, so like I gotta come out there to San Diego one time.
It ain't much out here now.
Yeah, it's gotta come check out San Diego. I have friends that are in San Diego, but they always talk about it, but it's never came down.
Right. I mean, I would say it's more of a family-oriented place, I would say.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. All right. Yeah, here. All right, we're back.
We are back. We're back, guys. We're back, y'all.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good. When we get to this part, I just recommend everybody, take a little 15-minute break.
Like, this is your concession time now.
Yeah. Yeah, intermission right now. And then be back in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll continue on. So are you good to go? Let me know.
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right, for sure. Yeah, I guess we'll just piggyback off the last topic that we talked about. What do we talk about? Oh yeah, I remember now. Look, good thing I'm taking notes. No, yeah, we were talking about how, like, as much as we love in the Valley, our culture, but I feel like it shelters us too much. The traditions and the way we raise our kids, especially when it comes to women. We don't really prepare kids, like you said, because we don't have open communication to allow kids to express what they're really going through in their life, and add the fact that we don't have open discussions and healthy discussions to prepare kids to talk about sex, talk about abuse, talk about relationships, talk about love, healthy relationships, how a man or woman should treat you, all the things that's really, really important to the adult life.
Right.
And a lot of times, like I told you, we laughed about it. Like, a lot of times, like, we don't learn about these things. We end up learning these things on our own. We go out there to the real world and we learn about sex on our own experience. We learn about relationships. We learn about men and women, and everything. So I feel like that's not a healthy system to learn. It's good to be. I feel like preparation is key.
Yes.
For everything. So yeah, I want to ask you, what your thoughts about that, about the culture of sheltering kids and not having discussions and not having healthy discussions, and of course not allowing kids to express themselves in a healthy and respectful way. Because I know in our culture, talking back to your parents or challenging your parents is seen as disrespect.
The end of the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're a bad child. You're a bad child, a disrespectful child.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why to ask you your thoughts about that, everything that we just discussed.
Yeah. My thoughts on the whole sheltering thing. Again, we both understand that that it is good, and then I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's very concerning in a way, because a lot of our kids, they grow up and think some things are okay and some things are not okay. I would say like the things that pertain to our lives, as in sex, financial needs, just adulthood, all of that goes all into us growing up. It's like we don't talk about these things at home. So as we leave the nest, we are lost. We don't fully understand anything that happens or anything that we come across, because it was not talked about and it was never discussed. So I feel like if sheltering our kids, it should be for, things to protect them, but the main subjects that we should talk about need to be talked about. Just growing up and knowing that you should do this for yourself. Make sure that you're saving and that you're financially stable, and that you're not just out there doing the most and not being protective of yourself. And a lot of these things just go into the way we are brought up and the way we end up becoming adults. Because sometimes I know a lot of us, a lot of people my age, they grow up, they leave the nest, they go to college, and they don't have a plan B. And that's something you should always have, is the plan B to fall back on. Because once you lose that scholarship, or once you lose everything that you've worked for, you need something to fall back on. And a lot of them, it's to always go back home, to our families. So instead of wanting to work for yourself, or instead of wanting to do things to try and better your situation, a lot of us, we end up going home, which is, it's not wrong. But I feel like as you become an adult, you should also know becoming an adult, you should also know that these are some fundamental things in your life that you should be like, hey, okay, I shouldn't go back to mom and dad, that type of stuff. I should work. I could live with them for a little bit, get back on my feet, and get back out of their hair. But I do know, a lot of us, we go back and take care of our parents, which is something that I do love about our culture and our brothers and sisters, because we take care of our own, and that's something that's always questioned by people that aren't of the Polynesian culture, especially Samoans, especially Samoan people. That is probably one of the common things that we do, is go back and take care of our parents, and like I said, I love that, because a lot of people question it. Oh, you're like 23 or 25, or you're 30 with kids and you're all living with your parents. Why is that?
Yeah.
But that is the white man's perspective, because they weren't raised like we were. It's like, for them, it's, you're 18, you're out of the house, you're on your own, and I was, and even my husband, he asked about that too. And I'm just like, look, we are a very close-knit, family. We're a very close-knit culture. We're very family-oriented. Kids go back because they want to. Our parents aren't getting any younger, so kids go back and do that for their parents, and they do that as long as they're living, and I always explain to him that it's very important, because it's not just that, okay, I'm going to be lazy, I'm going to go back. And it has nothing to do with sheltering. It's, we know what we're supposed to do and we do it, but in regards to sheltering, a lot of the things that we are sheltered from, we shouldn't be, and like we mentioned, there's sex. We should not be sheltered from talking about sex. Yes, there might be an appropriate age for it, but again, it is very important and healthy to talk about sex, because again, girls, a lot of things happen to girls, or guys even, and sometimes we don't want to talk about it, but we end up doing it. We end up doing it. We're like, okay, this is how this feels. This is what I'm not supposed to be doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's why we end up suffering the consequences later. We get pregnant, or, we end up just having just things happen to us. And it's like, okay, this is why we shouldn't be doing this, So I believe sheltering is very important in a way. And then again, just have communication while you're sheltering your kids, because it's very important, not only that you shelter them, it's important that you also talk about the things that make you feel uncomfortable as a parent, the things that make you feel like will make a difference later on in their life, because as they grow, they're going to see and know, okay, we've talked about this, this is not a new subject. It's a very familiar subject, and we get to talk about it. And it's, my mom told me about this, and my dad told me not to do this. I believe that the whole sheltering thing, it has its way of coming into your life as a lesson. So that's my perspective on it.
All right, nice. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you is, what was like growing up for you? What was like, growing into an adulthood? Which area, as far, because then, like you said, you were sheltered as well, but which area of your life was it the hardest for you to grow into and figure out as you become an adult? I know you mentioned different areas, finances, relationships, mental health, self-worth, self-love. So for you, personally for you, like what was the hardest thing for you to figure out as an adult, growing into an adult?
The hardest thing for me, I would say, would be just, I would say just being a female, because, again, we are very protected, and it took me a long time to just be like, it's okay that my brothers are doing this. It's okay. And, I'm a female. I understand why they're protecting me. So again, it took me a while to understand that and fully understand it to the point where I would say it's, and then once I did move to Hawaii, once I was able to, just do what I wanted to do, I was working and all that. And once I was able to do what I wanted to do, it was like, you let the whole beast loose, like do whatever you want. But yeah, I would say that. And not only that, being financially stable, me and my husband, we both work, and, we both work very hard to provide for our kids. And that was brought up to me as important, as it was just never something that was talked about. They mentioned, okay, you have to save your money, but that was about it. It's like you get paid, you pay bills and you get groceries, make sure that you take care of yourself and you're good. But it was never talked, the importance of money was never talked about in regards to it, just going into your adulthood, because then you grow up to be like, yeah, when I get paid, I can just spend money and not put anything in my savings, and that's how I was for a long time, because I'm a spender. I'm not a saver at all. Like, I feel like, and I know I'm not the only one too, that's a spender. But as I grew and as I had my kids, I was like, okay, it's very important to save, because not only that, there would be rainy days, and it's like, you're going to need this money for this. And so, yeah, as I grew into that, I understood the importance of being financially stable. And, there are times where I'm like, okay, I might need some help. And my brothers, they're always there for me. My brothers, I'm just like, hey, can I borrow some money? And they're like, okay, cool, you got it. And I'm just like, and I'll pay you when I get paid. So we pretty much have that little support system where we help each other, and, and they're there for me. And that's something that I'm very adamant about, because they do so much for not only me, but for my kids. And I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, it's just the whole support system and being financially stable. And then, the whole sex thing, I would say parents might think it's very overrated to talk about, or just not as important as they think. But young kids are out here having sex, and they don't know. So I would say that it's very important. And not only that, like, little girls are getting pregnant, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But, I'm not saying that to be judgmental toward any parent, because I'm a parent myself. So I wouldn't want that happening to my kids, and, just that pretty much.
Yeah. And just put it out there, like, we're not trying to be judgmental, if you have a kid early. Yeah. But we do realize, having a kid early is pretty hard. it's
yeah, okay, honestly,
so why make it,
because
it makes their life a lot harder.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do believe in, kids are blessings, whatever. But I'm just saying is like, I feel like we should make the path of their life easier, not more harder. But if it happens, it is what it is. But yeah, but I want to ask you. I know you talked about finances. And I know how you grew up. In a traditional home. Did you when you grew up, when it came to money and like financial support, did you grow up with the mindset, I don't need a man, I'm just gonna go out there and get my own money? Or did you grow up feeling like that you had to like find a man to support you? because I know because I know a lot of because I know a lot of girls.
Listen.
You know, I know a lot of girls are going.
No.
They need a man. I hear that from a lot of girls. Like, oh, I'm trying to find a guy because, you know, to support me, and because that's how they were raised. That's how they were. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. But no, I was never like that, honestly. I've seen how hard my dad works, and my mom too. She's a hard worker. My grandma, she was also a very hard worker too. They just had all, the traits, and and I picked on that mostly because my dad, he's a go-getter, and he's like, okay, this is how I'm gonna make my money. I'm gonna keep doing that, and I picked up on that too because I believe that that's a very important trait that you have is, especially as a woman, you should have your own money, and I understand that some women are limited, especially if, they're stay-at-home moms or, they're not able to work at the time. That's totally okay because I used to be a stay-at-home mom too when we moved out here. And, we're trying to get with my husband and, at the time I was just like, okay, this is cool, and it feels so good not to work for a while and just be home and take care of my kids, but after a while I got tired of it because I'm like, I've always been that person. Like I have to work because I like having money for myself. I like taking care of myself, buying things that I want and not have to ask, for money or whatever. And the thing too, like I've never had to ask my husband for money either. It's, his money was my money. So so it was never an issue, which I'm glad it never was. And I've always worked, for mine, and it just made me uncomfortable at the time because I always tell my husband, like, I don't want to have to worry about not having money. Like it's just me. It's just the type of person that I am. And, we had to look at our options as, okay, we need to find childcare if you want to work, or he works during days and I work during the nights, and that's been our plan. And, that's still our plan now. And I'm glad that I was able to do that and bring that up to him. And he was so very open to it because I know some women that, want to work, but they can't because there's either their significant other doesn't want them to work, or either they just can't find the job that they want at the time. And, I'm just glad that that wasn't my situation. But yeah, it's, being able to have your own money, it feels good, so that's something that's very important. I feel like, if you're able to work and if you're able to go get it, go out and get it.
Get your money, girl. Get your money.
Right.
Yeah. So, I like how I like your mindset. I like how you're independent. You wanna make sure you earn everything you have. So I feel like that you're a type of person that practices a lot of self-love, self-value, self-worth. So I want to talk about that because I feel like in our Polynesian community, we don't really talk about personal growth and taking taking care of oneself.
Right.
Because culture, it's all about taking care of family. That's what it's funny. I had a podcast with somebody with I'm sorry if I forget your name. Oh, Kiana. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to you, Kiana, watching this. Shout out to you. But she talked about how she was talking about she was talking about mental health, and she was talking about self-happiness that she had to figure out as an independent woman, right? She was trying to be independent, make her own life choices, and do her and live her own happiness in her own life. And she talked about how in the Polynesian culture, the definition of love in our culture is somebody that sacrifices everything for their family. So if you sacrifice everything for your family, if you listen to what your family tells you, you do everything they're told, then you're considered a loving daughter, right? That means that's what a daughter should be, and that's how love is shown in our community. The more you sacrifice for your elders, the more you sacrifice for your community, the more you do for other people, and that's why you're considered to be a loving Polynesian. But the moment you decide to do something for yourself, the
Right.
moment. Oh my
It's
gosh,
like the end of the world.
yeah, you're no longer loving no more.
Yeah.
You're selfish. All right.
Yes.
All right. So can you I'm sure you've gone through that your own journey. You know, I feel like you can't be independent until you've gone through that journey of self-love
Right.
and taking care of your own happiness. So can you talk about that? You know, your journey of self-love, your journey of taking care of yourself, especially in a culture where we're expected to fulfill every obligation that we're given, and there's nothing left. And that's why I see a lot of Polynesians myself suffer and struggle because either they don't know the concept of self-love, either they can't say no, right? And they're just
Yeah. Yeah.
they're uncomfortable. You know, they can't. You know, they're uncomfortable doing things on their own for themselves because that's how they've always
Right.
grown. So that's something that's
Right.
really, really hard for them. So can you talk about that for yourself, your own self-love journey, taking care of your own mental health? How, and also what age did you start realizing, okay, I need to focus on my mental health. I need to focus on on loving myself. Because for most of us, we don't grow up with these type of terminology and philosophies. You know, the only thing
Right.
we grew up with is listen.
Yeah. Listen or you get slapped.
Yeah. Exactly. So I feel like a lot of it's a good topic to talk about. A lot of girls and guys watching this definitely that experience and that knowledge. And I say, yeah, could you talk about what started it and what age did you have to when that's when you started realizing I need to start taking care of myself?
Yeah, so I at the age of I believe it was like my early 20s,
Okay.
yeah, early 20s, my daughter was with my mom because I was already in Hawaii. I was taking care of, my nephew, helping my brother. And, to me at the time, I was like, okay, and I never watched my nephew for free either. Cause I was telling, my brother was like, yeah. And his wife, they were like, we can pay you, to watch him, because we know you have a daughter as well. And,
Yep.
that could be of help for her too. So I was like, okay, cool. That sounds good. And so I'm sending money, weekly because I was getting paid weekly. And, I'm sending money, and sometimes it's just, I'm so sorry, it's my husband.
It's all good.
And sometimes it's like they expected, well, my mom, she just, expected more. And it got to a point where it was very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, at this point, I need to get my daughter back. And, and I just gotta deal with us. I gotta do better, not only for myself, but just for my daughter, because I've been away from her for a year, and that was just me leaving her with my mom because I feel like at the time it was a good idea to leave her because my mom, she just talked me into leaving her, as in, oh yeah, you're not going to have time to watch two babies at once, that type of stuff. And so just thinking about it, sometimes I just feel like that was very manipulative. And maybe she had good intentions, I don't know, but just thinking about it, it's just like, wow, she really, finessed me into leaving my kid because I was so young too at the time. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, but that time away from my daughter, it helped me to grow into the person that I am today, not only just learning to be financially stable and to just take care of myself, but to also take it, take action for my own responsibilities. And so, just that. And, when I did stop sending money, or when I did just stop sending money weekly, it's like, it was just a problem, and it's like, oh, you have a daughter here, that stuff. And I was just like, look, I'm not going to send money today. I understand, but I'm trying to, do things for myself. I also want to get things for myself. And if you don't want me to do that, then that's a problem, So like I said, I stopped I stopped sending money and I started working on getting my daughter back. And it was like, oh, like guilt tripping me. Oh, I'm going to miss her so much. And, this and that. But I just feel like just looking back at it, it's like, maybe she did all that just to keep getting money. But personally, that's what I think. But maybe, again, I don't know if she had good intentions or whatever. But yeah, just realizing that and getting myself back on track in regards to being financially stable. Like even now, like I'm not to where I want to be with, my finance, but I'm okay. We're okay. Our family is okay. Kids are fed. They are well taken care of. So to me, I feel like I'm doing something right. But like the whole, again, it has bills. Everybody has bills. We all take care of those. And then after that, whatever's left over is what's left over. And I feel like, just doing that. And I had just started saving too, again, for like the millionth time. Again, I'm a spender, not a saver. So yeah, I just feel like there are times where we do so much for other people or, for our parents or just anybody. And then once we start taking care of ourselves, then it's like, oh, you don't love us anymore, or you're so selfish thinking of yourself. So I'm just like, at that point, okay, let me get my daughter back. We're not going to have to go through this again, and so when I did get my daughter back, that was probably a burden, lifted, because I was more, mature by the time I got her. And I had just gotten her in, 2019. I got her in 2019, and it was such a bittersweet feeling because, I haven't seen her in so long, and it was just lifted, and, of course my mom brought her, so it was, it was a great reunion, but yeah, that's my take on the whole financial stability thing, the whole just giving and receiving money, or receiving the type of feedback that we shouldn't even be receiving in the first place, but we get it anyway because we forget to send money one time or choose not to. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that, what's that TV show with Asuelu? What's his name? Asuelu?
Listen, his mom and his sisters, I wanted to fight them so bad. Like,
you saw that episode?
Yeah, everybody watches it, right? Like people that I know that aren't Polynesian.
Yeah.
And even, my husband, he's like, is that how, like, is that accurate? And I was like, meet my mother. And but like I was joking to him about that because she wasn't as bad as that as Oswaldo's mom, but it's like sometimes she expects more and gives less, or like she just expects more and just doesn't give nothing, and I'm just like, dude. But yeah, that episode was crazy. Like I really wanted to fight his mom and his sisters, because that is such a bad representation of Samoans.
I know.
But it's also so very accurate.
Yeah.
It's also so very accurate. It just bothered me when she was like, I don't care about your kids, just give me the money. Oh my gosh. I was
Do you feel like that was real? Do you feel like that was real? Or was that like over, like they were acting at
I just feel like they kind of stirred the pot with that one. I don't know. I can't really say if it was real or fake, but to me personally, I would hope it's fake, because they wanted to stir the drama and make things more interesting.
Yeah.
But that was so toxic.
I know. I saw the episode. I was like, dang.
I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, what the heck are these people doing? And like, I have people that I know message me and they're like, is this really how Samoan parents are? And I'm like, no, not all of them are like this.
And that's what cracks me up. He just when the wife looked at him, he just looked away.
He is so passive. I swear, he is so passive.
Man, that was funny. No, no, I do want to talk about going to like women, especially when it comes to confidence in themselves and how they look. The one thing I liked about when I ran into your profile the first time, I liked how you just put yourself out there and you don't care. You just I can tell you're just confident of how you look, which I feel like a lot of women, Polynesian women, definitely need, because I feel like based on my conversation, a lot of women like they have a lot of insecurity issues.
Of course.
And I think also men too. But that's why I feel like I feel like more. That's why whenever I see Polynesian women, empowering other people and loving their body and just putting themselves out there. That for me, that's empowering me, because I have a lot of good friends, good women that struggle with that, with their insecurity. So I wanted to ask you, in your own life story, growing up, did you ever go through that when you feeling, because Polynesians, everybody watching Polynesians, we're built different. Polynesians, we're built different.
Yeah.
So we're built different.
So, in regards to that, it again for me, it took me a long time. Sorry, I have to put my phone on the charger.
Yep.
But yeah, for me, it took me a long time to appreciate me, because I sometimes I would just look and be like, hey, you are a beautiful Samoan woman, and nobody can tell you shit. But it took me a while, and at the time there, like any other woman, I had my insecurities as well. And it really helped me, when I started realizing, when I started to realize, my worth, and, the type of person that I am. And, I started taking control, of all those things. And I'm just like, there's no reason for you to not feel confident. There's no reason for you to think that people think you're ugly, or for people to think that you look different because you're Samoan. Because I know a lot of people have had this prototype of Samoan women and how we look. And, a lot of them, they've never heard of us. So it's like, okay, we know that these girls are big, and they're dark skinned, and, they're just not beautiful. And then they see, women that are Samoan, and, they are beautiful and confident. And they're like, are you sure you're Samoan? Because you're more light skinned, or you're more, you're more beautiful than these girls. And I'm just like, everybody is, beautiful in their own way. It just takes them time to realize it, because the whole confidence thing is just wild to me, because I know so many big girls that are still not confident because they're big, and I know a lot of them that are so confident, and that they love their body, they appreciate it. And that's what I like to see. Like, I'm all about body positivity and, all of that. So if you feel like you're not as beautiful or as somebody else, or if you feel like, you're not as good looking, don't believe it. You are beautiful in your own way. And, if you feel like you want to achieve a certain look, go for it. There's really nobody that's ugly. It's just some people have ugly traits, which I believe make them ugly, but your personal appearance alone, or you just being confident in yourself, plays such a huge role in, building your self-esteem, and just becoming the person who you want to be. And, again, for me, it took me a long time. And because I used to look at girls, these skinny girls, right? I used to look at these skinny girls and be like, wow, she looks very beautiful. She is slim, all that. And I want to be like her. But as I grew up, I started, appreciating my body. I started appreciating the way that I looked, and all that. And I'm like, you are unique, because not everybody gets to see the type of people that we are. So, bringing that up, when the whole Moana thing came out, everybody had this stereotype of Polynesian women, but the most common thing that I do know everybody says is, oh, she's Samoan and look at her hair, and they have so much hair, or their dads are scary, and my dad is scary. My dad looks scary, but he's so sweet. But yeah, and they do know like about the whole cultural thing. We have brothers and we have, all that goes into play, especially for your self-esteem, because these men play a big role in your life too. So yeah, that's me. It took me a long time, and I'm at a place where I know that I am beautiful, and my husband lets me know too. And to him, it's like he won a prize. I got my Samoan queen, and this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever, so that's that.
That's cool. Yeah. And like I said, just to really reaffirm what you said, everybody out there watching, everybody's beautiful. Everybody's beautiful in their own way. And I think my favorite quote when it comes to beauty is like, it's what makes us different, what makes us unique, that what makes us more beautiful, Right. So like, and that's something I was taught too, because I feel like all of us in our generation, especially when you grow up younger, that's what we fall into, especially with social media now, like the comparison, we fall victim to like always comparing ourselves to other people. And that's something that I feel like it's one of the struggles of the negatives of social media, as much as I love social media, but that's one of the
oh yeah
no,
I totally agree. And that's what some of the girls, they go off of because of the different body types, the hair, the looks, the pinched nose. And I'm like, I got this big ass nose, like I don't care,
Yeah.
And it just makes me appreciate it more every day, because regardless of my looks, at the end of the day, it's like the looks isn't who makes you, you own the look. So it's up to you to just be like, it's either I'm gonna be confident, or I'm just gonna keep looking at these girls that I will never be, and just be sad. But yeah, I've come such a long way for in regards to just body positivity, and in regards to confidence. And I love it. I just appreciate it more every day. And there's only one you, so appreciate the way you look.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, because it's something I always not only recognize or see happens a lot within our generation, and of course a lot of people do ask about this. Because when we're younger, and especially when we look for like somebody to get in a relationship with, the things we look for are more superficial, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm older. It's funny, like if I look at what I was looking for in a woman when I was 18, all those traits were like all physical.
Yeah.
and I'm just being honest.
I think men are just something when they come to looking for women. I do know, when you're younger, it's like, I want a girl like this, and I want a girl who's pretty and all that. And, growing up, now that I'm still growing, and I know so many men, they're like, I want a girl who's thick, and a girl who's pretty, and a girl who doesn't give attitude, and a girl who can cook. And I'm just like, but can you cook? Can you clean? It's like y'all expect so much from women, but can y'all do it? Because I don't want to eat ramen every day. Like, I love ramen, by the way, but I'm not about to eat that shit every day. You know what I mean? So it's I think there's such a this stereotype that men have of women, and it's like, can you do it, instead of just, I want a girl who does this and this. So it's
so as I grew older, now my traits of what I look for is like no longer, it's like no, I don't even care about the physical no more. It's like, it's all about connections, it's all about personality, it's all about mindset.
Of course, yeah.
So, but I want to ask you, in your experience, when you were younger, was it like what did you look for in a man when you were younger? But then when did you, what point age of your what age did you realize, okay, I don't care about that no more. I need to I need to focus on what on the real traits, what what a healthy man can provide. I'm interested to hear what you say, because I feel like a lot of the younger kids and that's watching need to hear this.
Yes. Well, honestly, when I was younger, looks for me. It was the looks for me, because I was just like, I can't date an ugly person. Like, everybody is beautiful in their own way, but I really can't, and that was just the younger me. And I'm just like, but I did love me a funny guy. I love guys who are funny, guys that just have a great sense of humor, and guys that, that, okay, that can hold a conversation, mostly because I've come across so many of them that, want to be in a relationship but can't hold a conversation
to save their life.
And they can't, or some of them just can't speak English perfectly, so and that is so like I don't know, at the time I was just like, okay, you're a fob, but that was so very wrong and judgmental of me, because I'm like, hey, maybe he's, funny, but regardless of that, I was like, no, he doesn't look that good. Like, I don't want that, and that was just me. And, just.
You could have found yourself at, you could have found yourself at Asuelu, man. You could have found yourself at your own Asuelu.
Dog, he is so freaking funny. I'm telling you. Yeah, like just it was just, I don't know, like my sperm donor. He wasn't, at the time. I was just like, all right, I know this guy from when I was young, that type of stuff. So I felt like I knew him. So looks didn't really matter, but he made me laugh. So I was like, I'm gonna give this a chance, So everything went well, obviously we had a freaking baby. But after that, I was just like, wow, he's a fucking asshole, So I was just like, wow, girl, choice in men, like the one time you decide to give it a chance, you mess up. But yeah, gosh, yeah, it that was the younger me. And I realized later on, again in my 20s, early 20s, as I was starting to mature, and I realized, it's not always about the looks, because people can only look so good as you think. And then, a lot of them, they come in all colors and shapes and sizes, whatever. But again, like I said, I love me a funny guy. And it was just like, he says he's funny. He's funny, and he laughs at his own jokes just like me. So I realized that. I was like, wow, we're like not even funny. We're not even funny together, but we laugh at each other's side. I just feel like, he was, perfect, because you don't every day, you don't get to meet someone that can be you, or make you feel as comfortable. And that's what I found. And like I said, I realized in my early 20s, as I was as I was maturing into the woman that I am today, it's not always about the looks. And it's, I don't know. It was just a young me that was just so worried what everybody was gonna say if I dated a dude that didn't look so good. But I'm just like, it is what it is, because everybody is going to like what you do or who you date. It's you at the end of the day that's like, hey, this is the person that makes me happy. And that's about it. That's that. But yeah, that's my That's my opinion.
That's funny. You have a TikTok, right?
No, I don't actually.
Oh,
I probably I don't have a TikTok.
no, it's funny. I made a TikTok. I made a TikTok a long time ago, and the whole funny thing with the TikTok, it actually did pretty good. It had a couple thousand views, but I remember it was just me making fun of, like, when you date somebody that's ugly and you bring them home to your Polynesian family and they roast the hell out of her.
That's another thing, because I told my husband, like, if you were ugly, they would have roasted the fuck out of you. Like, they would have clowned
no
you
filter
so
in front
bad,
of you, in your face. And I remember that. I remember, like, I made a TikTok about that. When you bring her home and she gets roasted and then she leaves and never comes back.
That is so true.
So I know for a lot of us, it's Polynesians, we can be really mean.
Yeah, well, and that's
really
the thing, because the whole constructive criticism thing, it's, so I have a brother that lives in Utah, and his girlfriend is white, and she's such a sweetheart, and obviously my brother's around a lot of Polynesians in Utah because he plays rugby. So she gets to meet these people, and she gets to go to, some parties with all these Polynesian people, and they would clown so bad. So give him an apple. Give him an apple. And it's so funny because, she sees this at parties and she tells my brother, like, bad for this person. Why are you guys clowning him? And he's like, oh, you're so white. Like, we're you don't understand. And, she tells me, and I'm like, no, really, like, we clown. And, it takes, you're not Polynesian, you're not going to get it, because we love to clown. Just got used to it over time. And my brother's like, yeah, she was tripping, that type of stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, she's white, so she doesn't understand, what goes on within, our own people. And I'm just like, so as she started, and she's like, yeah, I still feel bad for that. I know you guys are kidding, all that stuff. So I'm like, yeah, we are a people of clowning. So
I know we are like no boundaries when it comes to
literally no boundaries. And that's what baffles her. And she's like, wow, you guys are fucking assholes.
I know. I guess, like, I mean, it's what makes it for me is, like, I always it's about, I feel like this might sound wrong, but it's funnier to me when I see somebody that's hurt but pretends like they're laughing.
I've seen it too many times. It's like, it happens and they're like, silly bro, like, no, that was really not funny, that hurt my feelings. It's just like, that's what she talks about. So that's why I always laugh, because she brings it up and she's like, yeah, I felt really bad for this person, and I know you guys like joke around, but he looked like he was really hurt. And I was like, so why didn't you ask him if he was okay? And she's like, well, here you go again, look at like, no type of remorse for that person.
I know. I learned to be like, I learned not to be a savage, not as a savage when I was younger. When I see somebody, I can tell when they're hurt. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop. Now I have, like, self-awareness, but back then, the whole purpose of, I feel like, Polynesia, the whole purpose of cracking jokes is to make somebody cry.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Like, we have to make you cry. It's like,
oh my gosh. That is so funny, man. We're assholes.
I know. Love our culture. I guess I guess I'll transition into I guess to finish the podcast with talking about something I know we talked about before we got on. I know in the beginning we'll talk about your life story, but then we'll spend some time on certain topics that you wanted to talk about. I know one topic you definitely wanted to bring up and discuss, so you share to everybody out there that's watching. is talking about suicide awareness.
Yes.
So and that's something that happens a lot within our community, because we just spent this last few hours on this show talking about all the stuff that we go through,
Right.
all the shit that we go through, right? And for some people, like me and you, we're blessed that we were able to overcome it and found a way and figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But for a lot of the dark side to the story, there are a lot of people that never figure it out, and they never get the help, they never get the support, they never find that self-love journey within themselves to start treating themselves better. So I feel like this is something that's important. Thank you for bringing it up, by the way, to talk about it. Because I do know there are Polynesians out there, and maybe you are watching this and you are having suicidal thoughts. And if you are, I just want to say to you, I love you so much. If you are feeling that way,
worth it.
yeah, right.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Get help. There are always good people out there. But yeah, can you talk about that and how that pertains to what you saw growing up and your own experience with people in your life?
Yeah. So in regards to that topic, the whole last year I've spent it, just seeing not adults, not mostly adults, but teenagers committing suicide. And and then the beginning of this year, there's already 3 more suicides, and they're all teenagers. And I don't know what's going on in their lives. I don't know what's causing them to just want to end the pain, but it's very important that parents do talk to their kids, again going back to communication. And it is a very again, we are very sheltered, and that's something that our parents probably think that does not exist in our minds, to where we're so hurt that we're going to commit suicide, but it's there, and kids are just doing it left and right, and there's still no talk about it. It's every time I go on Facebook, it's like RP to this person, or why did you do this, you know what I mean? Like, it's always, why did you do it? It's not, let's talk about it.
So you talk about like what happened that led to that point.
Yeah. Like it's always, why did you have to leave your parents like that, or why didn't you just call me, or that type of stuff. But my thing is, if this person shows signs of just being depressed, or if they put certain things on social media that you feel isn't something that they usually put up there, please contact them. It's very important that we reach out to these people, because you never know what they're going through. And that's where, again, with the Polynesian culture, we're very judgmental people too.
Yep.
So, when you do certain things, it's like, okay, you're not even supposed to do this. Like, you're this type of person if you end up doing this, or you're so stupid for even thinking of doing this. You know what I mean? And that could really eat at someone's self-esteem. And it could really hurt them to a point where they feel like, okay, we're not doing anything right. I'm a failure. My parents don't think that, I'm good at doing this, or they don't think that I'm a good daughter or a good son. Just everybody in my life doesn't care, and I feel like the whole communication process with that is just broken, because nobody talks about suicide. Nobody talks about the awareness of suicide. Nobody talks about how important it is to reach out to these people. Sometimes they just need hey, are you okay? That's pretty much a lot of them need. And a lot of them just want a listening ear. Lend a helping hand, listen to what they have to say. And at the end of the day, if you're not able to help them physically, as long as you're there to listen, that's all they want. And sometimes that's not what they want. Sometimes they do want to be left alone, but those are the trying times. It's when they're left alone and their thoughts are just going through their minds as, okay, if you just end the pain right now with suicide, you won't have to deal with it. Or, it's just so much that goes into suicide awareness. And I just think that it's very important that we as a community need to do it. We need to have the talk. And regardless of, I don't know if there's anything in the works back home in regards to that, but I haven't seen it yet personally, and me and my friend, we always talk about this because we see so much of it. And recently, a little girl in our she had committed suicide, and it's just sad to me because, she had her whole life ahead of her, and at the time, the parents just, it's like, okay, they're so loved at that point, but we don't know what's going on in their heads. We don't know what's causing them to be like, hey, this is the only way to stop the pain. This is the only way that's going to answer my question in being here, or maybe if I'm gone, then they don't have to worry about me anymore. And I know, that's a lot of, kids. And, honestly, that was me too, because as I, had gone through what I have gone through, I just ended it because nobody believed me, and it was just like, all right, well, this is my way of doing things. But then again, it's like every time that I wanted to, I just thought I could be a blessing to somebody, I could grow up and have kids and, just be a mom to them and make sure that I do better, and I'm so glad that I did it. I'm so glad that I am here today. Even for a lot of people that attempted to do it and they're still here, you are loved. You are strong for just overcoming that obstacle. You are very important, not only to your family, but to your friends and, even people that don't know you. If you feel like you have to commit suicide to end the pain, please don't. Reach out to somebody. My DMs are always open if you want to talk. I'm pretty sure they can talk to you as well. And, if you feel like nobody's hearing you out, please feel free to reach out to me because, we all go. We all have our little dark moments. We just want things to make sense, I would say. Um, and, just it's very important to talk about suicide awareness because it's still happening. Our youth is going through it. And I just don't like that people blame them for what they did. And, it's like, what was done prior to that to make them do it? What was done prior to that to make them feel like, hey, I'm important, I shouldn't do this, but it's always, why did you leave like this? Why did you do this? Oh, you did this and you left your parents, so enough of the blaming, enough of the victim shaming, enough of all that. But please understand that communication is important, regardless whether it makes you uncomfortable as a parent to talk about these things. These are the most vital things that you could talk about to your child because, as unimportant as you think it is, it plays a big role, not only in their lives, but maybe you can make an impact on their friends' lives, just even a random stranger. You never know what people are going through. So I feel like suicide plays such a big role, especially now that I'm seeing so many suicides. And it's like, okay, well, there needs to be something that has to be done. Just something has to be done in order for people to know that there are actually people out there that want to listen and, learn about your story and just hear you out, just not for the sake of it, but to hear you out in order for you to change your mind if you feel like those are the feelings that you are feeling at the moment. Don't do it. You are loved. You are important. My DMs are open for anybody that has thoughts like that. Just please don't DM me on things that are not important. But if it's, if you if you want to talk to somebody, I'm always there. I have a listening ear. Yeah, but in all honesty, all jokes aside, you are important, and that's what I'm gonna say about suicide awareness.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. And just to add to what she said, yeah, if you if you need some love and support, need somebody to talk to, I'll throw my DM as well. You can open up to me, talk to me as well. And because, like I said, like, and for all and I know in our culture, that's one thing we um I know we talked about before. We're very reactive. We wait till somebody dies before we even do something. So
Right.
a lot of times we don't pay attention to our kids to see the signs.
Yes.
Because when somebody goes, I've had some friends that've gone through it, but luckily some of them, I've had some friends that commit suicide, but I had some friends that almost, but they didn't. But all my friends, I realized that have gone through the experience, like you could just see that their habits and their lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So that's something like you said, like if you pay attention, because if you see your friends and they're all if they're all of a sudden they just start doing things they've never done before, they were outspoken. I mean, they were outgoing, but all of a sudden you don't barely see them at home outside no more. They're no longer active on social media no more, or like I said, social media. A lot of times people post things in a subliminal way.
Right. Exactly.
You can see the way of what they post.
Yeah.
The things they post, you can kind of see what they're going through. And then, like you said, don't be afraid to reach out. And I think that's the thing. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to talk to people, because, and for everybody out there that they have from the other generation that kind of like always wants to victim blame and shame. I'm just thinking about, like, if you want to put yourself in their shoes and empathize, like, for somebody to commit suicide, that means that they felt like it was easier for them to die than to actually deal with what they went through.
Right.
So they felt like that was like the only way out was that was the only solution for them. They really got to that point in their life where they couldn't see no other solution except committing suicide. So
Correct.
just understand this, and just understand that there's always something they're going through, and instead of figuring out why they did it, let's figure like what happened. That's the thing, like what happened to them. And a lot of, and like I said, especially within our Polynesian community, we just had a conversation about this on this podcast. We don't encourage kids to speak up. There's no communication between us and them. There's no communication between us and them. Kids are left to figure out things on their own. Yeah. And then the elders, they don't really believe what we go through when it comes to mental health, when it comes to sexual abuse.
Yeah.
So there's just so many triggering factors that could definitely happen to a kid. So, but yeah, just something that I'm happy you talked about it. For me, it saddens me because because of how our culture is. Even as much as we are a people culture, we're a loving culture. And that's something that saddens me. Is like
there's just so many problems.
Yeah, so much problems. Yeah, from the outside in, it looks like everything's good. We have traditions. Yeah. We go to church every Sunday.
Right.
That's
just a layer of cover-up.
Yeah.
Everything, because a lot of things aren't normalized and a lot of things aren't talked about, and that's why I feel like a lot of our youth, they go off of what they see or what they learn, and that's why a lot of problems are happening or caused because of that.
Yeah. And you also add the fact we just talked about, like, as Polynesians, we like to laugh things out with humor. So that's another thing. Yeah. we like to hide our insecurities and our pain with humor. So it's really hard to gauge to kind of get a feel for what somebody's going through, because it's a natural Polynesian way just to laugh about everything. And I still do that to myself even to this even to this day, like where I'll just laugh things and then go home and cry.
Not cry. I'm
or
dead.
a drive home. Go cry in the car. Let me go to call. I'm gonna go call my mom. Go to your car and it's like, and I end up saying, it's funny, but but this is something that's real. So, but yeah, I'm glad we talked about it. But yeah, for everyone out there, just let you know, you are loved. And also, don't be afraid to reach out.
Yes.
I think that's the thing. Like when we go through our struggles as Polynesian, because we have so much expectations, and of course, our culture can be very judgmental, very critical. So like when you talk about, especially like when you talk about mental health issues, I know this is like stigma that like if you talk about mental health issues or if you're suicidal or something's wrong, like something's wrong with you. Oh my God, you should be in an insane house. You should go to like the crazy house.
Right. Or you don't feel that way. You're just going through a phase or whatever. But it's once somebody tells you how they feel and if they're having those feelings, please believe them, because it's never too late. It'll be too late once that person we never expected to do, and it's like, wow, this person really just told me how they felt.
It's funny, and also I remember one of my friends brought this up. As because I know we like to humor, we like to laugh things off, and we like to be a Polynesian humor can be very intense. But just put out there, like if somebody opens up to you, please, if somebody opens up to you and becomes vulnerable, please don't laugh and please don't make fun of them.
Right.
Because that prevents them from ever doing it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're actually opening up to you. So, take that as a sign of, you being that trustworthy person that they are depending on, because not everybody is going to believe them. Not everybody is going to take it seriously. But if they do reach out to you, please listen and lend a listening ear and a helping hand if you can. It's very important.
Yeah, because I used to be that way where like someone opens up, I'll just like go off on them and just clown them. But but now I've learned like if somebody opens up, I'm like, oh wow, this is the moment. Then I have to like turn that switch off. I literally have to turn that switch
and just be serious for
be serious for a moment, because I know once we're vulnerable the first time and they don't take it seriously, that's the end. We'll never be vulnerable. We'll never be vulnerable again. So but thank you for talking about that. Thank you for bringing awareness about that. And and anybody's going through it, love to you, and please reach out. She said she opened up her reach out to her, reach out to me, or reach out to somebody. There's always somebody out there that will listen. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. Always go out there. And of course, if you have to get professional help, there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that have professionals. Just go on Google, search. You'd be surprised in your area. There's a lot of programs out there that and hotlines out there for these type of stuff.
Right.
So don't ever feel like that you're limited to get the knowledge or the help that you need. I'm telling you, there's always a way. You just gotta reach out and find it. But yeah, I guess we've come to the end of the our podcast.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for talking about your life story. We had some great discussion. It was fun too. We've had some great jokes here and there. But thank you so much for sharing about your own life story. I know you shared a lot of deep and things about your life, and I know you packed it away. But thank you for unpacking it. So. And resharing it for everybody that's listening, because I do know for a fact that you definitely helped somebody today. I guess the last thing I always want to ask every guest on my show at the end of the podcast, can you just share, after everything you've gone through in your life, can you just share some final thoughts, some word of wisdom to everybody that's listening, and then we'll just close it off with that. So,
sure. First of all, I just want to thank whoever's going to be watching this for watching this. No, but we have touched a lot of subjects that a lot of our Polynesian brothers and sisters don't get to actually talk about. And, I hope that this discussion has shed some light on some of the things that you feel you need in your life, or some things that you need to do differently. I hope that this will actually help somebody. There's always that one person that needs it the most. And I feel like if this has helped you, great. Love it. I love seeing people progress. I love seeing people, be their better selves, because it's so important. And then we've covered suicide awareness. Please, please, please. Again, if you do want to talk to somebody, my DMs are open. You can always hit my line. If you want to talk. And a lot of the things that we have covered, they are so very important and are very common subjects that we all know as a community. It's just not talked about, or some of them are just frowned upon because it's not important to our parents or our grandparents, just pretty much everything that we talked about. Please take heed if you need to. And it's just be your best self. It's 2021. There's nothing more we can do but live our lives, take care of our kids, our families, and just be you. You are amazing. Suicide isn't the answer. It's important yourself, and it's important that you reach out, and it's important that you talk about your problems. And if somebody doesn't believe you, I am here. Again, you can hit my line. And I'm grateful for this podcast. I'm glad that we were able to talk about things that aren't of normalcy to a lot of our sisters, and I hope that it helps somebody. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. And like you said, thank you so much again for joining me on this. Thank you for the opportunity. Everybody have a great day. I'm gonna press stop right now, and I'm gonna talk to you right after.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Give me 1 second.